Welcome to our Healthy Together Time and the 90-Day Show Up Challenge webinar. My name is Jenny Langston and I'm a certified Optavia coach. Me and my co-host Natalie Roper are excited to share some ideas with you today. We are just about 12 weeks into our Show Up Challenge. How are you doing in the challenge? I hope you're enjoying it. I know I have personally felt so much momentum in my health journey as I've witnessed all of you showing up. I have also watched during this 90-day challenge people moving from focusing on what's wrong in their lives to a mindset of asking, how can I change? What do I need to learn? And how can I surround myself with like-minded people? Well, you're in the right place. We can do this together. First off, Natalie is going to do a quick overview of our 4 components of our program.
Hey, all right, the first one. First of all, I like to kind of think about these 4 components as 4 legs to a chair. When all 4 legs are in place, it provides great stability and a solid foundation. The first one is that everybody gets a coach. Your coach gets to be your guide, provides accountability, and helps you along your journey. Coaches are working on themselves too, so it's a cool opportunity that we get to link arms and be able to do this together. The second one, our Habits of Health transformational system is key as our body matches up to where our mindset is. So this is where you get to do the mindset work to create lasting change. Third, our Optavia community. We are not meant to do this alone. Your chances of success increase when you plug in. So good job for being here tonight. The fourth, scientifically designed fuelings, balance blood sugar, reduce cravings, reduce decision fatigue, and simplify the process of creating new habits. We specialize in high nutrition and muscle protection with nothing artificial.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Natalie. Let's jump right into our topic tonight. We are going to be talking about how to keep momentum with your health goals. I thought it would be fun if we started off with my story. My story started many years ago when things were a little different, maybe a lot different. The picture on the left in 2009 was me at age 37 running in my first 5K race ever. And it was totally by chance because my husband's friend who had signed up with him at the last minute couldn't run the race. And so I decided to naively jump in with 0 training. And let's just say it was a rude awakening. I remember feeling really proud of myself that I had finished the race, but I quickly also realized how out of shape I was. You know what? This moment in time was actually a turning point for me, where I knew I wanted more in my life. I had been living in a deep world of scarcity and basically feeling like nothing ever worked out for me. I would wake up every day with a heavy heart, and I honestly just had a hard time feeling any gratitude in any area of my life. So I have a smile on my face in this picture on the left, but I was definitely kind of faking it. I was not in a good place, both physically or mentally. At this same time, Troy and I decided that we wanted to make changes in our lives. We decided this together. And so what we did is we just started diving into some personal development books. And the first one I read was The Slight Edge. Maybe you've heard of it, by Jeff Olson. This book had a huge impact on me. He says, the simple things that lead to success are all easy to do, but they're also just as easy not to do. This concept resonated with me. Easy to do moves us towards our desired outcome, and easy not to do moves us away from what we say we want. So it's as simple as that. it's a choice. And I loved how simple that idea was to me. That was something I could really grab onto. He also said, anytime you see what looks like a breakthrough, it's always the end result of a long series of little things done consistently over time. So I decided to put this to the test. Over time, I started noticing change, and I found that these little daily choices really do add up. I began to see this momentum building, and it was so exciting, you guys. I'm also so happy to say, on the right, the far right picture, this past summer, when I ran another 5K race, I felt better at age 50 than I ever did at age 37. At that moment, I just was so full of gratitude for the girl on the left that decided to make a change. So in 2017, the middle picture is when I found Optavia. I loved the principles that it teaches. It aligned so well with what I was already doing and learning and what I was seeing change in my life. Optavia truly teaches lifelong transformation, one healthy habit at a time. And it makes it so doable. Optavia has really, truly been just pivotal in my continued success long-term and my momentum in my journey. I love the lifestyle that I've created through Optavia and how it simplified my life. And I look back at these pictures and I just am full of so much gratitude. So I've been at this for many years now, as you can see, and I was just thinking about and just pondering, like, what has kept my motivation high and my momentum going in my health that I could share with you tonight. And as I have thought about this, I could sum it up in one word: standard. As I began to make these changes in my health, I found that I loved how I was feeling and I did not want to go back. This is a picture of me walking the Grand Canyon rim to rim just recently. And I consciously set a standard for myself that has become so ingrained that it has become who I am. So I was reading The Power of One More by Ed Mylett, and he says many people confuse goals and standards, often mistaking them for the same thing. They are not. Here's the key difference. Goals start with a thought, but when you decide to achieve your goals, you create standards as a means of taking those thoughts and applying actions to them. Okay, so think of standards as the performance benchmarks that you are personally committed to. So recently I got together with some high school friends. So we all turned 50 this year, and we thought it would be fun to do like a little celebration lunch. So we met at a restaurant. It was like a buffet style restaurant. And as we were walking around and circling around and filling our plates with food, one of my friends glanced over, noticing what I was filling my plate with. And you know what she said? She said, "You even eat healthy at celebration lunches, don't you?" In that moment, I realized my friend knew that I had a standard that I lived by. I realized that people know what's important to us by how we live, by the standards that we set for ourselves. Also recently, we were invited to a cabin with some friends, and I found it interesting that my friend made it a point to ask me what kind of food and snacks we would want to have there, because she said, "I know you and Troy are healthy eaters." So think about the people that you know that have set particular standards. Maybe they have a standard of being on time, or maybe they have a standard of daily exercise. Think about what standard you have set for yourself. What's something in your life that you do? It's just part of you. I would love for you to put that in the chat. So when people set standards for themselves, you notice, and you wouldn't expect anything else. You know what's important to them. When you set standards for yourself, you are letting people know that this is important to you, and this is just what you do. When you live by your standards, your goals will follow. Okay, so let me be clear. This is not about perfection, right? This is about progress. And I am definitely not perfect at this. I fall off course too, but being committed to our standards helps us course correct and get back on track quicker to keep our momentum going. I love these things that you're putting in the chat. It's really empowering to think about things that you've already committed to, because it helps us see that we can commit to more in our lives. Okay, so momentum is one success, no matter how small, that starts a domino effect, creating forward motion. This forward motion builds and moves the needle in a continued positive direction. So we can ignite momentum in the positive or the negative. Momentum can literally swing either way. Think about that. Take habits, for instance. Good habits and bad habits are formed in the exact same way. It's really through repetition. So think of your experience of learning to ride a bike, for instance. Once you learn to ride a bike, we rarely have to pay much attention to keeping our balance or how to ride it. We've been riding long enough that it just becomes natural and normal to us. But it does take time and practice and repetition and even falling down, right, to learn this skill. So we learn that it's really forward momentum that keeps the bike balanced and upright. So now with riding a bike, you have set a new standard. You can think of it that way. You ride the bike, no problem. It's just what you do. This is what we can create in our health and as we get going in our journey and momentum. So I would like to suggest 4 ways that we can use this forward momentum to help us keep moving towards our health goals. So the first one I would love to share is wake up to your why. First and foremost, we need to understand our why. Unless you're clear on your motivation, you won't develop optimal standards for your goal. There are going to be days when you will waver. There are going to be days when you want to give up. That's totally normal. You may question if your goal is even worth it at times. Have you ever done that? You may tell yourself that your standards are too high. So welcome to being human. That is our brain, right? This is where the why comes in so big. Revisit your original motivation. I wanted to tell you a little story about something that happened that really created an awakening with me and my why. So this is my little grandson, Case. And a couple months ago, we went to our cabin, which happens to be in a little HOA that has a little pool and a little slide. And we got up in the morning, and around noon, everybody was ready to just start playing and start doing something. And it was time for little Maisie, my little granddaughter, to go down for a nap. And Mariah was like, you know what I would love? I would love to take a nap with Maisie. So I was like, oh, that sounds awesome. You should do that. And then Hayden, my son, wanted to play pickleball with my husband, Troy. So there was little Case, and he said, Grandma, I want to go swimming. And I was like, okay, let's go. So we put on our swimsuits and we head to the pool, and he looks at that slide and he said, Grandma, I want to go down that slide and I want to sit on your lap. And I was like, okay. So slides are not something I'm doing right now, like ever. I'm 50 years old, and it's not like even 1 ounce enticing to me, but I will do anything for that little guy. So we climb up the stairs and we sit down on the slide, and he sits on my lap, and we start going down the slide. And no sooner do we hit the water that he says, Grandma, let's do that again. So I'm like, okay, so we go up, we go down. And every time we hit the water, again, we must have gone up those stairs and down that slide 25 times. And as I was ascending those stairs, I had such a deep moment of gratitude, you guys. I was able to experience this moment with Case without limitation. I didn't have to say, wait for your mom to wake up or wait for your dad to stop playing pickleball. I said, let's do it and let's go. And to me, this is the biggest part of my why, is living a life where I get to show up in my best, the best way I can for the people that I love. And I get to be in those moments with those that I love without being held back. So think about your why and what it is that you can capture that will keep your momentum moving forward. Now, Natalie is going to share another way that we can move towards our momentum.
Okay, showing up. So I just want to share a little example, a little story with you that happened just this past Monday night, just 2 nights ago. So my husband and I, we had planned that morning that we were going to meet together in the early afternoon and we were going to head up the mountain for a hike. And as the day continued on, it was starting to get later and later. And all of a sudden, by the time that my husband had made it home, we had found that we had hoped to go much sooner and now it was much later. So we were trying to kind of reevaluate and see what we were going to be able to do. Getting this much later start to our hike meant that we were going to be traveling down the mountain on this trail in the dark, and I did not want to do that. It also meant that the later it was in the day, the colder it got. That was another thing that I was not thrilled about. So as we continued to talk about it and continue talking, I had every reason and every excuse why this wasn't going to work anymore. We had missed our chance and it wasn't going to happen. Well, the biggest thing that kept coming back to me was the later it gets, the colder it gets, right? So not many of you will know this about me, but there's a picture here that I want you to look at. I have a very unique, kind of rare, well, very rare and unique medical condition, I guess you could call it. It doesn't have a big fancy name to it. In fact, it almost sounds a little bit silly. But the doctors have told me for many, many years now, almost 20, that Natalie, you're allergic to the cold. So this is kind of what my body does. This is me coming home from our walk. That's a picture of my arm swollen and hived up and a picture of my leg hived up and swollen. So this is kind of what happens. I get the hives all over my face, all over my hands, my feet, my legs, my body. Just kind of crazy. And the worst part about it, other than that I look a little bit silly and my kids look at me and they say, "Ooh, Mom, I'm seeing all the bumps. They're coming." And we just kind of smile and laugh it off. The worst part about it is that I itch like crazy everywhere, my entire body. And the only way that this gets better is by me going home and warming up and then eventually getting in a shower until they're completely gone. So hopefully after seeing this picture, you get a pretty good idea and you're on my side that I had a really good excuse not to want to go on this late cold hike. Well, thankfully, I remembered. Something came to my mind and I thought and I remembered about tonight. That this coming up Wednesday, so talking about tonight, that I was going to be telling all of you and talking to you about showing up. I was going to look at all of you and say, "You guys, just show up. Show up when it's hard. Show up when it's easy. It's okay if you're tired. Show up. Just show up, even when you don't want to." And now I can tell you to show up, even when it's freezing, and you will come home covered in bumps at night. As I've thought about it a little bit more, I thought maybe Monday night didn't happen. Maybe the reason I showed up maybe wasn't all for me. I think Monday night's hike that I continued to go on, even though it had gotten later and much colder, knowing what was going to happen, I think maybe I showed up for all of you. That I was able to come on and say, we can do this. We can still show up in the hard times. I think that's a good reminder for all of us that sometimes we show up for other people. But hopefully, as we continue on and we get more momentum and we continue to do things, we realize that we show up for ourselves. So just a reminder that if I can do it in the cold, so can you.
Thanks, Natalie. Oh my goodness, I love that. And the third thing that we wanted to cover tonight was being present and being mindful. So you guys, this has been one of the hugest parts of my journey. For me, that means getting up early and taking time to meditate and reflect and set my intentions for the day. If you really want to set your day up for success, you guys, I cannot emphasize this enough. This is so key. I've been doing a create your day meditation every morning. It only takes about 5 minutes. And I literally think through my entire day, my morning, my midday, and my evening. I think about who I'm going to be with, how I want to feel, what I'm going to do, what action steps I'm going to take, what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to move my body. And it's amazing how when you do this, your brain literally aligns and your habits line up and your day goes so much smoother when you set those intentions first thing. So think about this picture. Are you mindful or mindful? Okay, you guys, think about it. If you start your morning on the left, you have your mind is already full of everything. Think about, like, if you're checking your phone first thing or you're checking your emails first thing. For me, if I do that, my day takes off and I never get it back. It's literally like you can't stop your brain. And so what I found is that if I get centered first and I create that moment of silence where I can really pause and reflect, this is where ideas come. This is where breakthroughs come. And mindfulness creates space between you and your thoughts. In fact, I was reading Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday, which is amazing, by the way. And I love how he said, silence allows us to take a minute for a self-check and gives us the opportunity to put ourselves up for review. If we don't take the time for self-examination, how could we possibly change? Think about that. Creating awareness through mindfulness is so key in moving your health journey forward.
Okay, everybody, as you kind of look at this symbol, what does this represent to you? What do you think of? What comes to mind when you see this? Just kind of throw it out in the chat. What comes to mind when you see this? Great. Nike, just do it, right? Exactly. I figured we would all be pretty aware of what this symbol means. Just do it. Well, it sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? Just do it. Show up, be all in, do all the things that we know that we should be doing, do all the things that we want to do. I want to talk to you for just a minute about self-sabotage and what that means. Self-sabotage is knowing exactly what you need to do to improve, but not doing it. It's procrastinating doing the very things that you know will make you happier. It's waiting till things are 100% perfect till you do them. But that, of course, will never happen. It's remaining in the comfort zone because of fear of failure or uneasiness of change. It's a mindset that you may be completely unaware of until you really stop and think about it. So think about that for just a minute. Are you a prisoner of your own thoughts? If you are, take responsibility and acknowledge you are the one that put yourself in that position, and you are the one that put you in that prison. But the opposite is also true. You have the power to free yourself. So as I think of some of these lines that are in there, procrastinating the very things that we know are going to make us happy, waiting until things are 100% perfect, remaining in our comfort zone because we're worried or fearful of change. So many of these are familiar, and I'm sure so many are familiar for you. Almost 5 months ago now, I decided that it was time to take charge. I decided it was time for me to make a change. I realized in that moment that I was the very one holding myself prisoner. I had always envisioned my life as a grandma. I couldn't wait for that day to be a grandma. I envisioned me being fun and active and playful and doing all the fun things that you could think of. Until one day I wasn't that grandma. My grandson would come up to me and he would say, "Grandma, let's go for a walk. Grandma, can you push me again on the swings? Grandma, come jump with me." Or, "Grandma, I have a really good idea. We should go swimming." Well, it seemed that I found every excuse to say no. Every excuse. Every time he would ask those little questions, I found reasons why not to. Until one day that I decided I was ready to start saying yes. Mitchie and I, ever since he was just a little baby, we had loved to play airplane. So this is me laying down on the ground, laying on my back with my feet up and him getting on my feet. I would sway him back and forth, making all of the airplane noises over and over again. We would laugh and giggle and have such a fun time. The more I would do it, the more I became tired. My legs were tired. I would often have to say, "Okay, Mitchie, the airplane needs to take a little break." Sometimes I would even tell him that the airplane has completely broken down in hopes that I could get out of it. A couple months into my journey, I started to notice that I had more energy, I had more joy, more activity was starting to creep into my life. And the very best part, I was starting to be the grandma that I wanted to be. This now is a recent picture of me and my 3-year-old little Mitchie playing airplane once again on grandma's legs. This time, the airplane never broke down. It never even had to have a stop. It went until Mitchie was finally done and ready to get off. As he got off my legs this very day, he looked at me and with the cutest face and the sweetest little voice, he said to me, "Whoa, Grandma, you did really good this time." For me, that was a moment that I wanted to capture and keep and hold forever. I wanted to save it in my mind as a moment that I never wanted to forget. For me, this was momentum. I started to find other things that were happening in my life, moments just like this. I started to capture them and keep them. As I think back about my why and why I started this, my big reason and my moment and my why was because of this little guy right here. I was doing it for my grandkids. Since then, I have added to that why in my life. I have wanted to make me a priority. I've made me feeling my best, me coming and showing up as my best self, my priority. As I've been able to do that, I have, since it's been about a month and a half, that I have decided to take on coaching for myself. And what an amazing experience this has been for me. I went into this coaching nervous. First of all, nervous. I'm not a social media person. I don't love putting myself out there. All of these things. I had a lot of reservations about this, but I decided to go with it. I have felt so many rewarding things from being a coach. The rewards of bringing in an income. I've never been a working mother. I've appreciated that, but later on in my stage now, I have loved that I've got to help a little bit in bringing some finances in and helping make the house payment, getting to do some fun things for my kids, saving up for vacations, all of these types of things I've got to do because I've recently been a coach and I've loved it. I wanted to sum up for you a little thought from C.S. Lewis that for me represents and kind of captures the whole thing of being a coach for me. C.S. Lewis says, "Friendship is born at that moment when one person says to another, 'What? You too? I thought I was the only one.'" Connection and coaching for me have been amazing. I have got to make connections, friendships. I have got to recognize that all of us are in this together and that we need each other. And I have loved that.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing your heart tonight. Hopefully you can take some ideas from this and reflect on your own personal journey and what is creating momentum for you. What moments can you capture that propels you forward? What can you do maybe differently to create more momentum? What can you be grateful for? Thanks everyone for joining us tonight. We are so excited about our upcoming Cancun Life Coaching Retreat. Come and join us in Cancun, Mexico for some amazing personal development, fun, and connection. We love our healthy community. Come surround yourself with uplifting people working on becoming the best version of themselves. Also, join us next week for our Wednesday webinar, Continuing to Show Up. Now, for the next 30 minutes, we have 2 breakout sessions. Many of you loving the program and have asked for more information about how to be 500% more likely to reach and maintain a healthy weight long-term, and how to bring others along with you on your journey, and how becoming a health coach could look for you. This will be the topic in our Zoom room right here. You can just stay here. And then we will also be offering a breakout room for any newer coaches with our Coaching Quick Start class. So stay if you would like to join one of those. Otherwise, we will see you all next week.